When I was through school and through primary school, there was no space for actually being able to critically think about stuff. And that's just the structure of those institutions. Whereas in this institution, especially in Pavilion Parade, and especially the course that I'm doing, I've got the ability to be able to think independently and critically.
We each have one life. It's a life that we develop in relation to others, but the conditions which we inherit, that we're born into, are conditions that were made. And in order to understand ourselves and to understand what it is to be human in the one life that we have, you need to have some sense of the history of the self and the history of the society which makes the self.
I applied for several universities and I went along to the other universities. Brighton was the only one that gave me an interview. And from the moment the interview started to the moment the introductory talk finished, I was already having an insight into a critical world that I hadn't seen before. So that made a huge, huge impact on me. So I thought I have to come to Brighton. And then over the course of the first year, we chose our options. And I looked at the course material for Self and Society. I looked at the activities that went around Self and Society. And I thought that's the one for me if I want to be truly critical about the world that I live within.
We look at 4 or 5 main areas of thought from the period beginning in the late 19th century through to the early 21st century. We look, for example, at Darwinism and social Darwinism, and we link that up to contemporary debates about genetics and human behavior. We look at psychoanalysis. In particular, we look at the work of Freud and the ways in which Freud's work has been used to think about what it means to be an individual, but also then being abused in order to shape, in, for example, advertising, the way human beings act.
Everything builds on top of each other and everything links into each other. So by the time I got to the middle of second year last year, I stumbled upon Foucault.
With Foucault, we look at changes to the way our lives are governed. We look at the ways in which power infuses even the most simple and banal of our everyday activities, ranging from cooking, for example, through to what you do in the university.
And he shows a completely different way of looking at the subject and how it's formed, and that ties in beautifully to society.
We take you back to the early history of Marxism by reading Marx's work, and we then look at the critics of Marx and think about whether or not his account of capitalist society still holds today. The last course that you'll study deals with feminism and post-feminism. Now, a number of our students say, well, why do we need to study feminism today? One of the reasons we have this course is because there are still distinct differences between the ways in which men and women are treated in the world in which we live. Think only, for example, of salary. Think of changes to reproductive life. Think of changes to the definition of sexuality. So we study all of those issues.
I'd certainly say the course has given me an idea into different ways of approaching the question, whether humans are constructed, whether we are blank slates in the beginning, or whether there is a point of beginning in the first place. But also what can be said about developed humans once they've kind of become a subject.
I think the seminar format is key. It creates not just like an academic environment, but a social environment. I've made amazing friends here. Friends, obviously, that I think I'm going to have for a lifetime.
When you leave university, you will, we hope, forge a path which is not simply following what is demanded of you, but which critically deals with and addresses what is demanded of you, and makes decisions which might be deemed to be ethical decisions, moral decisions about what is right and what is wrong. We don't tell you how to do that. We simply try to open the possibility that you will do that for yourself.